Hello, and welcome to Resolve, an after-play show. This is an after show for a role-playing game that does not have an actual play, but we tell you all the details of our game so you don't have to listen to it. Hi, I'm Sammie, I'll be your host. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Asiri Omoli, the deep-sea mermaid. Joining me is my wonderful co-host, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I play Moogle Avatar of Alexander Smog. Both of us use he, him pronouns.
We are joined today by Zach.
Hi, I'm Zach. I use he, him pronouns, and I play Tao, the draconic Vocaloid who uses they, them.
Alright, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Now that we're all here, Alex, why don't you tell us about the actual play?
Previously, in EFFETE, recruited by Powder, Asiri, Geyser, Tao, and Poni return to the vessel where Powder lost her guns. While another team wipes out more bots, Asiri saves Powder from drowning, Poni and Geyser wrest control of a generator, and Tao hacks into a commander drone. They return with full control of the ship, the Lemma, and the drone. Poni trains with the captain on the beach. She learns how to balance and brace herself, along with a devastating stomping attack. Geyser asks Smog to accompany her on a visit with Sierra. Sierra helps Geyser understand the difference between the crab as an organism and the strider as a human-made tool. Geyser, attempting to understand Sierra and his research, reads his mind, accidentally allowing access to her own thoughts. Sierra pulls Smog aside and asks him to help in her understanding, realizing that she had a strange and difficult start. Anything big I missed?
Not that I can think of.
Smog smoked Psycho Glass.
Smog smokes some glass.
Hell yeah. I was debating putting that or not, but I guess it's there now.
It is the episode title.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Now that you've heard the actual play, let's do a deep dive into the session. Guys, we have a spaceship now!
Yeah. Spaceship. We
I
can
don't
go
think-
to the moon. Oh,
We can go to the
no.
destroyed moon!
We could go to the moon in the world of Spirit.
I don't think Terra would let us take the ship off the planet without them being there.
Also, we met the moon in the world of Spirit.
Yeah.
So,
The spirit of the moon.
They are still the moon.
It's especially for the beast. I don't think the beast thinks of itself as literally the moon.
Did you ask?
Yeah, because it talks about the moon as if the moon is not itself, as if that's where it gets
Is
like
it?
its power. It seems correlated, but not the same.
it is as much the moon as Smog is Alexander.
Yeah.
Yes, that's probably a good way to think about it.
That makes sense, I guess. But yeah, we were finishing up our little snapshot adventures in Sequence Charter before moseying off to the next world. We started off with the one I had requested, which was I wanted to help salvage on Sequence Charter because I think Asiri feels guilty for not helping out more. So she figured, hey, I can live in wet, and these jobs tend to be wet.
Did you talk with Dan about that beforehand? Because from what I got of it, you said we can have a scene here in the cafeteria, and then it ended up becoming salvage.
So what I said was I wanted to help more around Sequence Charter, and I threw some things out like salvaging or, other deep sea sort of maintenance stuff. It turned out to be salvage.
Okay, nice. Yeah, we were just hanging out in the cafeteria, eating tacos. Geyser making the worst taco known to man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what all was in it. Definitely sauerkraut, black beans, something else.
Did she take some of Pony's apple?
I think so.
Yes, apples.
I feel like Geyser is that person who would go to the fast food soda machine and just put a little bit of everything in.
Oh man, I used to do that as a kid. I would not be able to stomach that nowadays.
Gross.
One of our good friends who shall remain nameless still does that.
No.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Too chaotic.
Chaotic good, I think.
I think just true chaotic, but...
That's how you get the truly spicy McDonald's, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, as y'all are eating, Powder shows up with a couple guards, just hitting up all the military types in the room.
I was worried that we're going to get attacked now because there's so many military people moving in.
Yeah, with all the drones showing up, it was definitely a concern of, is there a larger scale attack going on? Which turned out to not be completely unfounded, but ended up just being a salvage operation out to that ship that we went to before.
When we left, there were definitely still drones and bots still roaming around, so it would make sense they would want to go back and make sure that they don't do something worse and or come close to any of the cities.
I think it's very funny that Geyser was the one to intuit pretty much what was going on because she has experience with the paramilitary organization that was handling her.
Guys are used to being on the other end of those soldiers.
I love the description here. I'm looking at the notes. People who got haircuts recently to talk about a buzz cut. That's the way you know that they got a haircut recently.
All gone. I appreciate how immediately perceptive Geyser is. They may not be completely correct, but they always see what's going on.
Even if they don't know what it is.
Oh, just looking through the notes here again, I forgot that Powder took a bite of Geyser's nonsense taco.
I was about to say that. I was like, why?
Right.
Why would they choose to do something so vile and inhumane?
I think she said something along the lines of, it's like water 2.0, every taste in there somehow cancels out.
Yeah.
I hate that, but I'm very curious.
Solid water, but not ice. Mushy water.
I have had a mixed drink like that. Some green apple liquor in Diet Coke, and every flavor just canceled out, and it tasted like carbonated water.
Horrible.
I remember you talking about that. Was that when, like, work trip? When did that
No,
happen?
that was back in college.
In college? Okay.
I was like, that sounds like a college experience.
Absolutely a college experience.
I was wondering if somebody was like asking at the bar for a drink where they somehow knew that those ingredients at that bar would make a nothing taste.
You could just save a step and go buy, like, carbonated water.
Yes, but then you wouldn't be getting drunk.
Exactly.
This was
Vodka.
college.
A vodka soda.
Vodka seltzer. Horrible. Thank you. Asiri was interested, so we kept up with Powder and we got recruited, and by recruited I mean volunteered for this operation. We rode the Strider all the way out back to the ship, and things got real fast.
Yeah. We got in there, Tao hacked into some of the doors halfway and managed to get them open, but not full control over closing them again, which, now that I think about it, may not have actually been Tao getting access, as we learned more once we got in there, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, if I'm thinking about the scene, the narrative time is a little bit weird because you obviously spent some time like rooting around the ship. You didn't have Smog to get you right in place again, and the extraction team went in like character time. Because of all that, you would have been spending your time coming through, but narratively, they were just a couple steps before you were finally in the generator room.
Yeah. Though I did have a quick question for you, Alex. Why did you choose not to have Smog in the scene? Because I did leave it open for anybody who wanted to.
Because I'd already done a food scene with Smog, and the opening was, we're at a cafeteria. I was like, I don't need to talk about Smog and food anymore. I had no idea where it was going.
That's fair.
Were you just sad Asiri didn't show up for your food, but showed up at the cafeteria? Rejected your ceviche.
Oh my god.
That's sweet ceviche. That generator room was very intense. Daniel described it as massive conductor for the entire vessel.
4 different pillar generators there, only one operational.
We immediately start salvaging everything, and Geyser was like, okay, let me just take all this shit, and just like started magically hovering and zapping everything just to carry it with them.
I know she said something about Dragon Ball. To be fair, I wasn't paying as much attention because I was in the scene, honestly. But I lost track of what exactly she's saying about Dragon Ball, / I don't know that much about Dragon Ball. And I just heard blue and sparkly, and I was thinking of the Mew bubbles from the Pokemon movie.
He was referencing like the big charge up spirit ball that Goku does.
I think it was meant to be like in Dragon Ball, whenever they're powering up, all the rocks around them start just floating up in the air because of all of the ambient power. She was saying, I'm doing that with all of the loose screws and little bits on the floor floating up and glowing. It's like I'm powering up in Dragon Ball, but just to be able to see everything we want to salvage.
And then everything got Mew bubbled, but blue. Shiny Mew bubbled.
And then I believe it was Poni who realized that someone had been in the generator room recently and turned it on.
Mechanically, Poni rolled very well to discover that. But I am curious to see what Poni's ambient knowledge of technology is, because the Shrek universe is kind of weird in that regard, where it is that medieval fantasy, but they also have inclusive jokes and stuff about modern things. So I'm not really quite sure what Poni's operating level for most tech is.
I assume, like the Shrek universe, it's whatever would be funniest at the time.
Yeah, I feel like what happens in Shrek is that they have whatever they would need to make a modern joke, but it's just magic. I think she'd understand conceptually what most of the tech is doing, but not how any of it works.
But I love that Poni was like, hey, this thing was turned on intentionally, and Powder's like, oh shit! Just immediately panics. And you know what you do when you panic? You split the party.
Yes. Always the right decision.
Always the correct choice.
Let's split up and look for clues, gang.
Literally. That's literally what happened. Is Poni Scooby-Doo?
Powder was the one who suggested splitting up.
No, I know that, but there were, 5 of us? So...
Yeah, Powder's Fred.
Oh.
Powder's Freddy. Is a Siri Daphne?
Is a Siri Daphne or Shaggy?
I don't know what that could be.
No. Who's Velma? Is Tao Velma?
Tao might be Velma. I think Siri is Daphne and Geyser is Shaggy.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
Because obviously, Fred and Daphne have to go off together.
Mm-hmm.
Smog is scrappy too.
I'm gonna choke and die. You're correct, and you should say it. Once we split up, everything happens all at once.
Powder and Asiri left the generator room. Everyone else was still in the generator room, and from a balcony above us, we saw a commander drone show up at a control panel, and shields started going down in the generator room, trapping us in there.
The command drone just immediately takes out a blaster and starts firing. I could have done that at any point, because assumedly it's up there and we didn't notice it.
As we learn a bit later, it was trying to get something from Powder. So it may have been waiting to split the group to get the easiest chance of picking all the rest of us off.
That's very sinister.
I mean, it is the governance.
Also kind of stupid, because presumably it saw a Siri in the water floating all around her, and then tried to get them to drown.
But it doesn't know what a Siri is, understandably. It probably only has data on the humans of this planet based off of the history. I don't know if it could that quickly figure out what a Siri is.
But you're completely encased in water. Maybe they think it's something different. Maybe they don't have a way of figuring out what it is. But it does look like water.
That's true. Maybe the psychoglass around her is dispelling it too. Who knows? Or maybe it's just stupid.
Too many processes running at once.
Obviously, its end goal was to kill or incapacitate Powder to get what it wanted, which was the Omega key for this ship. Right. But obviously that didn't go as planned.
Not exactly, but it did start trapping Powder and Asiri and opening some doors to drown you all, and then shooting at the rest of us, locking us in. Tao hacked it again, just like last time. Still one of my favorite images that I've done as Tao is reach out a hand and open your mouth to start screaming, but instead it's the dial-up modem sound.
I love that for them.
It's very powerful, very potent. Now, you still retain command over this drone, correct?
I did keep control over it. Not sure where exactly that's going to go, if it's going to use that as a way to get into Sequence Charter and then try to break free, or if I'm actually just going to have a new robot along with me for a while.
Well, what I was going to say is if you had no plans for it, obviously they've reprogrammed these drones before, so it is possible because Thompson and Wolf exist. So you could just bring it back, have them reprogram it so it's useful. Did you have any plans for it?
My idea was basically, bring it back, let them reprogram it, let them get whatever data they can off of it. But could also be a new host body for Tau instead of being projected out of the cell phone. Could download themselves onto this robot and use it as their way to get around.
We could have a fun team project where we all paint Tau.
Would that be more like energetically efficient for Tau? Is projecting the form from a phone like a problem for them?
It's not really a problem, but Tau isn't the most physically able of the group unless they're in full dragon form, so it would give them a way to help punch other robots or other things we come across. Just get my call-in assist from off screen.
Siri also got the vibe when checking in on Powder there near the end that something might be up health-wise, maybe not related to the fight.
Once we got separated off by the bot, we were like in the ballast of the ship that was filling very rapidly with water. So Siri's like, oh shit, Powder's gonna drown. Making the brilliant fish decision to swim up a waterfall and eventually successfully escaping because the tide was coming out, so the ocean level wasn't that high. So Siri's like, okay, we can time this, we'll make it back to the surface. Powder should be okay, if not, shaken and startled. But at that point, she's like, are you okay? And Powder's like, I think so. And then Siri looks closer and is like, there's something not correct here. You're not bleeding, there doesn't seem to be any broken bones or anything. And Siri doesn't know that much about human anatomy to determine what. I don't know what Dan's implying here. I'm kind of scared, because if it was something artificial, like a pacemaker or like a false limb, that she's already clocked Tara as having prosthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Very curious as to what it could be if it's not something physical like that.
Yeah, I feel like it might be something more on the mental end, the trauma of almost being drowned.
Mm-hmm.
And it could also be some sort of chronic condition, maybe related to using psychoglass so much. I don't know.
Ooh.
Or being around stuff that might be somewhat unstable that she's salvaging.
Yeah. No, Powder has cancer. No.
She might be going through chemo.
That's terrifying.
Hopefully not related to the psychoglass, considering Asiri's been swimming through the stuff constantly since session 1.
Assumedly, it's okay, because Sierra's been drinking this shit since who the fuck knows how long.
Right.
He's 82, I think. Long-term side effects have yet to be disclosed to us.
Yeah.
I'm scared it did. I don't want anything bad to happen to Powder.
Well, I'm sure we'll learn the next time we come back to Sequence Charter. I'm sure it'll come up. I wonder if anything will change with Powder and that key now that she understands more what it is. 'Cause she was thinking of it like a lockpick.
Yeah, it seems they didn't really understand that it was the master controller for this vessel. Though, now that they have it back reclaimed, obviously maintenance is going to try to repair it and make it more functional. So I'm very curious if Powder will be given a ship to command.
I wonder if they could produce more of these.
I don't know, because they lost a lot in the war, because that's what the purpose of us going out was, just to collect materials for them, and to stop the governance bot menace, I guess.
Well, you know who could produce more of these?
Ugh.
We'll see if that's ever useful.
We don't need to encourage Geyser to create more weapons, I think.
No, Smog could make this.
You're right, Smog could make this.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of people who remember it.
That's true.
I wonder what Dan would set the requirements to be.
Take a long time.
Yeah, probably. Probably need something from another world.
Probably. And somebody's help.
Oh my god, that's his way to force Smog to interact with Terra, is that he specifically needs the captain's help.
It would work. Yeah, that fills a lot of boxes.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny.
I'm dying for that interaction.
Maybe next time we're back.
Speaking of meaningful interactions with Terra, Poni had an excellent scene with Terra.
It's so good to see Terra back in the form that you and I,
Yeah.
Sammie, are used to seeing Terra just absolutely clobbering.
I lost my mind because I knew Dan was going to open with Terra's signature move, the leg sweep, but I just couldn't handle it in the moment. I just lost. Not only that, she did knock Poni flat on her back.
Yep, just head into the sand, flipped over.
This is dark. But Dan and I were talking after the session. He was like, yeah, that could have gone really bad. Like, what if she had injured Poni's leg? Horses don't really recover from.
Ooh, yeah, that could have been bad. Good thing it did not go that way.
Yeah.
I feel like even though Pony's not a unicorn, there's something special about Pony, though. It's not just that everybody is being deluded into believing that she's a hero. There's something special there.
She definitely has charisma and some form of gravitas that keeps her on the forefront of these adventures.
I feel like the magic talking animals in Shrek defy physics somehow, too.
Yeah.
All of them just don't work the same way as normal animals.
It's been so long since I've seen a Shrek movie.
Zach and I just saw the Puss in Boots movie.
Was surprisingly good.
I've heard that.
The fight scenes are excellent.
But it really was a touching moment to see Tara come almost full circle into the position of teaching somebody about combat where she was taught by Sierra beforehand. Very fascinating to see that cycle turn over and her disbelief at it.
I feel like if we spent long enough here, Pony would bring back like a coliseum. Bring back some arena fights.
Back gladiatorial combat, let's go, baby.
Hell yeah.
Although that might bring back some negative connotations for the people of Sequence Charter if this was a forced thing by the governance.
We're far enough away from the rebellion that there's definitely a generation of people who only know Sequence Charter without the governance.
Yeah, I mean, Powder has said that before, so...
So yeah, there could definitely be people who are young and put this together because they want to celebrate this thing that sounds cool from their heritage, but they don't understand the ramifications of it. And I feel like Pony would be the one to bring that around. Pony just seems really interested in fighting. Geyser seems very good at fighting, like on the other end of things. Like Geyser is just like, I'm ready and I'm going to smash, but doesn't seek it out.
Pony is a locked and loaded heat-seeking missile, ready to rumble at any given point. She crushes a rock during that scene and creates a crater.
Like I said, Shrek talking animals just are on a different level. That magic seeps out in different places.
Yeah. How strong can Pony get is the real question.
The gag characters are always the strongest because they're as strong as any joke demands that they be. So I think Pony might be one of the strongest characters in the movie.
We also got to see Tara climb into an exosuit, basically.
Her exosuit. Her cool pain in the ass to draw one.
Yes, my comment was that is it like a sketch? I can't remember now. Whatever you made look like a bonkle to me.
It's a sketch, and that's because I was drawing it off a dance design, so of course it looks like a bonkle.
Yeah.
In character in a big mechanical suit, I imagine it would look like a Bionicle.
It looks like a Bionicle, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It has like a machine gun for a hand.
It also kind of reminds me of in the Kingdom Hearts prequel game, your 3-player characters get suits of armor. I wonder if Dan even looked at that, just thinking about Kingdom Hearts stuff.
I'm going to say no. I haven't seen him. It's so weird. We're like doing this dance where it's like we're playing a game based off of Kingdom Hearts, yet a lot of people running it and motivated to it don't know a ton about it, but then we keep circling back to these themes that you keep telling me about.
Yeah. Well, Kingdom Hearts is also such a wide thing because it's not like Disney only makes one kind of movie. It's not like Final Fantasy is only one type of game. And they even busted out of Final Fantasy. They're just like, we're going to have The World Ends With You in this one for some reason. So they have a lot of different stuff they can pull from for inspirations, and it's already a world travel thing. So the similarities are always going to pop up with other world hopping narratives. If you could get some one-on-one training with any NPC, who would you want your PC to train with?
Good question. The Beast? Probably.
Please elaborate.
No.
No,
absolutely not. No, you don't get to know.
I honestly don't have any more on that. They're in charge of the power that lets the folks in the world of spirit transform, and Tao has an extremely powerful transformation. That's honestly about it.
Not to derail, but at one point we were like, are we all going to take ultimate form?
It's just such a good move.
I hit another advancement at the end of this one when I was trying to figure out if I wanted to take ultimate form, because I think that's what I want to be my last out of playbook move for going through this book, but I decided to pick up As It Was Foretold, which is a playbook move instead. And that gets me one of the questions whenever I roll a deep dive for free. So if I roll a 7+, I get that in one other question, or if I roll a 10 plus, I get that into 3 other questions. So just mine all the information, get all the plus ones.
Are you already getting near the end of your second playbook?
I have 5 advancements from the anachronism.
Okay. So you have, another 5 left?
Mm-hmm. And I haven't even been, spending all my locked links anymore. I'm mostly just using my link move, where I unlock a link, gain an experience, take a +1 forward when I gain a new link.
Yeah, you're probably going to get to your third before most people get to a second book.
Maybe.
That's wild. I'm accelerating as fast as I can to my next playbook because I know what I want now. So I'm like, all right, gotta catch up, gotta keep moving because I haven't rolled poorly very often because my Sims dice are cursed / blessed, I guess. But I'm like, all right, spend these links. Come on, let's go. And it's still taking me. I think I still have 3 or 4 more levels to go.
I have 2 more left in this book, and I was kind of hoping to do it between worlds because that would be a better position for the scene that I'm thinking. But we'll see how that ends up.
Yeah, I've been thinking recently that when this version of Smog first showed up was in the World of the Lost, and what I might want to do with Smog the next time we enter the World of the Lost. We might have something slightly different in store there. Dee was very interested in having Geyser speak with Sierra again, said anybody could come along, but specifically said she would ask Smog. It's like, yeah, of course Smog would tag along if Geyser specifically asked. And then just immediately starts sort of harassing Sierra, tell me about fish things.
I love that when Geyser gets super focused on something, that's all their mind is about. And right now it is about fish biology, which Sammie loves. So I can appreciate that. However, I do think it's hilarious that she has not talked to the literal fish person about this at all.
Yeah, I think my response to that before was would you go up to a human and be like, tell me about your anatomy? Humans know more about primary physiology.
Fair, but Sierra has done this to Asiri already, so...
Yeah, Geyser retrieves the crab from Asiri's tank, holds it up looking out at the Strider, and it's this is the small one and that's a big one. And that's where we get the whole explaining the difference between this vehicle and an organism.
It really poses the question of how disconnected Geyser is from... I want to say reality, but that's not quite what I'm looking at here, because obviously she knows tangentially what things are real. She understands that both the crab and the Strider are in her presence, and she understands the higher forms of these things, but I don't know if it's because Geyser is literally just a figment of imagination that she just can't hone in on the concrete differences.
I think it's more that she's disconnected from society, maybe, more than reality.
It's in my brain she's stuck on sacred geometry or something.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I can kind of see where it's coming from in Geyser is an imaginary character from such a fantastical world. You get a giant mechanical creation and a little talking crab from New Jersey, and they might just be from the same guy that thought both of them up.
Geyser's really lost for context coming from a completely psychic space and expecting the rules to always flow like that everywhere. And that's something that Sierra sort of hints at as we get further on. Geyser had a very strange start in the world, and that has not set her up for success.
Yeah, she definitely needs a little bit more of a guiding hand to sort of move her through all these complex social engagements.
Which Smog seemed more than happy to provide.
But I also had that moment with Sierra where it's yes, I can do it, but it's hard because I just got here and I'm used to these people being someplace completely different if they're still alive, because Geyser, we assume, not going to have a human mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to reconcile that with being back where they are now.
That's what you get for time traveling.
Yeah.
Certain things had to be done.
It has to be done.
Yeah,
it has to be done.
There's an order, and if there isn't, then some things break.
And it has to be done.
One of those things that had to be done, sticking psychoglass in your flute and smoking it.
Yeah, please explain.
That's just for pleasure.
Yeah, it had to be done. Hedonism. Here we go.
Yeah, because that happened around now, right? Where Sierra and Smog went aside and
Yep, that was all the way at the end. Sierra was done telling Smog, like, you have to keep an eye. You have to be a little patient. Smog had a little bit back where it's like, yeah, I remember some things about you. You need to keep an eye on Terra, too, and make sure you're patient and still applying some attention there. And we might need some of your thoughts about the history and the rebellion and the governance at some point soon. And then, probably to take the edge off after a serious conversation, Sierra takes out the flask and does a little nod, like, hey, give me some of that.
But you, unlike a sensible person drinking what is presumably some sort of alcoholic and or adult beverage, you put it into your shriveled eye stalk of a pipe that you've been speaking through, smoke the glass, and then play smooth jazz? What the hell in the unhinged shit is that?
Oh, I forgot about the smooth jazz.
I didn't want to lose the concept of Smog being based around, like, vaping and smoking completely, basically. And I was like, oh, here's an actual point for some substance use. And I even had a second where I was like, I don't know, it's kind of weird if he, like, uses it like a magic bong or something, right? Like, should I just be drinking it? And Dan was like, no, you have to use the pipe. It was like, all right, fine, it's pipe. It's a magic bong.
Magic bog, let's go! I really just don't know what to do with that information. Like, you gave it to me, I saw it happen in real time, but I still don't know what to do with it.
It's just going to sit there in my mind.
Like a vape cloud.
So, in order to keep parallel with the series, she's going to get magic staff that makes people sober.
I am not trying to keep an identical parallel. That is not my plan. There will be, trust me, there is a strong parallel that's about to be made, but I don't need another implement to that.
You don't want a soberizing gun?
Sober. Get clear-headed, idiot. No.
Man, now I'm wondering, Geyser can eat, but what even would put her in an altered state?
I guess it would be anything that she believes would put her in an altered state.
Oh, or if something weird happens to Jilly.
Oh,
yeah.
Especially that. What if Jilly gets high and then Geyser changes because of it?
Geyser turns into, like, the hallucination demon.
Oh,
No. I'm not gonna lie, my gut reaction was hallucinogenic mushrooms, but, like, you're right, that could go on either side of that equation.
Jilly just starts reading a book, and Geyser changes clothes, starts getting, like, a dress. Like, Geyser's always in the background of the imagined scenes.
That would be weird. Like a pop-up book or something, and she's jumping from, like, page to page.
And I'm just thinking of that for like everyone. Like, can we give Tau some sort of alternate energy source? Can we make them fucked up?
Duracell lithium batteries.
I was thinking more like Tau is kind of powered by the people, so if their perception of Tau changes, then Tau would probably change.
Are there any fermented foods in his series?
That's a weird question. Well, she eats a lot of rotting things, so I guess technically, but that doesn't really bother her. Although, dolphins do use pufferfish venom to get high, so I assume Asiri could potentially do that, but she doesn't really live where pufferfish are. So.
Let's find her some fugu.
She would love it.
Now I'm imagining, like, the shallow folk just operate illicit pufferfish dens.
100% promise you, it's not illicit. It's entirely sanctioned by their system of social structure. We haven't really gotten into it, but the shallow folk are fucking nuts.
So, Geyser tried to read Sierra's mind and opened up herself to being mind read by him as well?
Geyser was seeing how Sierra was interested in helping her, if I remember correctly. Hoping that actually tapping directly into people's thoughts would help Geyser understand other people's reactions better. And he got back from Geyser anxiety about the connection to Jilly. Also losing the fish scale, still being upset about that, constantly running through her mind. What's funny to me, because I think Dia said before that Geyser's every thought is acted out. she's starting to gain more of an inside world of her own now.
Yeah.
Eventually, she will hit every point of a conversation that's ever brought up, but it's not absolutely every thought that's coming out anymore.
It's still incredibly chaotic.
Yes.
Not everything in the order you would want to bring them up, but starting to be a more realized person in their own right.
Yeah, I think it was those anxieties about Jilly that made Sierra sort of pull Smog aside and ask about that and make sure he understood to help Geyser and to make sure that that help is with the knowledge of her origins.
And then everyone started shipping the two of them, Geyser and Sierra.
That actually came out of the last episode.
Yeah, that's a little older, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
Was that out of Okay.
You haven't listened to the last episode yet, have you?
Podcast episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Not last
session, no.
session.
This broke you, Sammie.
We literally spent like 10 minutes talking about it. It was ridiculous.
Maybe because this is much shorter, I'll leave it in here, but that episode is originally 2 hours. And it's sub 1 hour after adding the music now. So that was a labor of love. Anything else before we talk about other worlds? What's even on the docket? What do we have to go to? I don't remember.
DDR world that smells good, and one more that I don't remember.
Right, because we went to Stank World and the, Dark World. Yeah, I don't remember what that third one was that we have left.
There's one that smells like metal or something, right?
That's probably the one I'm forgetting.
Okay.
Possibly, yeah. I remember the one that smells like, was it like an open field?
Yeah, like meadows and grasses.
Yes, and then there was one with a pulsing rhythm and neon light. Or maybe the pulsing rhythm and the neon light were two different ones.
I know there's at least a pulsing rhythm one, and that's what I'm dubbing DDR world. I hope we get there and we play DDR, despite my lack of legs.
I'm hoping to get some worlds that are a bit more poppin', because we got a world of one person last time, and before that, small village out in the sticks. Need to get to a big city at some point.
Daniel also said that we picked the most serious and depressing worlds first. So...
That's us.
Wow, called out.
Dan just holding us at gunpoint, you will have fun and be nice and be happy.
Please. Is Smog having fun?
He just got a little drunk, so...
Alright, getting drunk does not mean you're having fun.
Yeah.
He's playing smooth jazz. He's having a decent time. Not everything is schedules and plans. That's why he's not the Dark anymore. Absolutely everyone in the party has now turned to a mastery link, which is ridiculous. But it's not because he's you have to get to this thing. I know where you will end up eventually, and I would like to help have a hand in that, because maybe I've heard that's what happened from the future.
That's a big point of contention for Assyria right now, at least from where your relationship stands. Spoilers for Steven Universe, I guess, but when Ruby and Sapphire break up and Sapphire's over it already, and it's all right, I'll see, when we're back together and everything's fine and Ruby's still mad. Assyria's Ruby is still mad right now.
Yeah.
Smog is simply Sapphire's it's all good. We'll figure it out.
It's interesting that you have a mastery link with everyone in the party, because in your former incarnation of Smog, you were definitely trying to be manipulative in a much more sinister sense, but now you're manipulative in more of a helpful sense of manipulating everyone to reach their potential, I guess.
Yeah, and he's being honest about it. He's this is something I remember about you, and I'm helping you move towards it most of the time. Nothing's veiled anymore, and I think that's why things that were scattered elsewhere, because he had so many little plans that were constantly changing to have people interact in certain ways, are now just all solidified and helping you. In a certain sense, learning from other people too. There's things that he doesn't remember. There's things that people from this time are going to be more attached to than they were later. He doesn't remember Tau at all, so there's plenty that he can learn from them.
Is there something that would happen that would significantly change your perspective? Is there a line for Smog that isn't supposed to be crossed?
I don't know about a line, but because there's so much that's up in the air. He doesn't feel the need to do many specific things. It's more like he's set on the end point of going home. And especially because there's a possibility that he's gone out of his own timeline. That means that the Smog that was interacting with the other people of his own personal timeline would have had to be out of yet another timeline. There's a certain sense, I need to make sure things go well for everyone and myself and my goals, but I can't be too caught up in forcing the exact future that I experience to happen, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you know what to expect, but it may not go exactly the way you originally experienced it.
Yep. There could just be a bunch of different timelines that are slowly sliding off Smogs to each other.
Gross. They make a shampoo for that. Tao, where are your relationships standing with the party?
They're mostly good. Tao's still not 100% sure about this new Smog, but decided to go along with it. Gotten worse with Geyser after everything that happened last time. Moved from trying to improve Geyser to trying to limit the damage that she can do. Still supportive of Poni, likes Asiri now.
Yeah, I'm still flabbergasted, but it makes sense the more I think about it that the series still has a locked light link with Geyser. Because Geyser has been relatively nice to Asiri this entire time. She's just mildly annoyed at some of the chaos, but at the same time, she doesn't understand a lot of what has been going on either.
Yeah, you haven't been around for some of Geyser's worst moments so far.
That's very funny. Yeah, locked Dark Lake with Smog. That's probably not changing anytime soon. Locked Master Link with Tao, because there's a lot that Asiri wants to learn about Tao and from Tao. And same with Poni, but instead it's more of a teaching role. So I guess where were you expecting to be at this point? We're like, what, roughly halfway through? Because we've been to half the worlds.
We've been to 2 out of the 5.
Yeah, but we've also gone through the opening. We spent 6 sessions in Sequence Charter before going anywhere.
Was it that long? I thought it was only
Let me double check. But I think it was quite a few. And we've hung out in Sequence Charter a little bit more now.
Because Sequence Charter is cool.
I feel like Sequence Charter definitely has some more going on with it that we'll find. But yeah, I guess around the halfway point.
Yeah, we didn't spend a whole session somewhere else until session 6. So we spent 5 sessions in Sequence Charter, basically. So yeah, I would say we're probably about halfway through the game at this point.
Silent teardrop falling. But my question stands. Is your character where you expected they would be?
Tao has been going the way I expected at this point, wanting to create a world free of any harms at all, and then slowly realizing that that might not be super realistic, but not really giving up on their goals, which is kind of the path I was expecting for them. Definitely had some fun bouncing off of other characters, but I don't think it changed their trajectory too much from what I was expecting.
It just accelerated so much through that first playbook, and now being here, it seems like I have room for another arc for Smog. It's not so much that I veered in any direction, but I just went so much faster that I had to put more track ahead of me than I thought it might.
Insert that Wallets and Gramus gif of... Yeah, Asiri has gone above and beyond what I expected. I did not expect to go where I think I'm heading with her. I think her core characteristics are actually, ironically, what defines that, interestingly enough. That's an unexpected thing for me from a character standpoint, because she's very different than a lot of the characters I typically play and I'm interested in, which has been fun. It's been very refreshing to play something very different.
I've circled around a small, knowledgeable person who keeps lots of secrets several times in different games. I feel like that's not too far off from Lucinda, who I just played in Vampire.
I miss her so much.
My first D&D character for a long-term game was from a secret society, was a rogue, so had a lot of those qualities as well. Feels like I'm coming more back to form than playing something too new. I'm not usually this much of an asshole, although I have also played characters who are just tremendous assholes.
Tao is definitely more of a support character than I usually play. Ironically, Tao is not the one hogging the spotlight very often, I feel, whereas a lot of the rest of the time I'm playing characters that really want to get up in there. One of my first characters was a paladin who immediately named the adventuring party after his god because someone asked for a name, and it's like, yes, we're the Warriors of Dimra, because you're serving my god, of course. It's fun to help shine that light on some other characters a bit with Tao.
It feels very natural because not every performer is like up in the camera all the time. Like when they're off stage, a lot of them are very mellow and just like, yeah, I'm cool with my art.
A Vocaloid is also literally built to showcase other people's music.
Right.
There's nothing else they theoretically can do.
Theoretically.
Maybe Tao will push the bounds of that at some point.
Perhaps.
What would y'all have done differently?
On one hand, I'm like, maybe go salvage things, because that was a huge part of the session. But also, I was fine with not being there and had a good chat with Sierra at the end. So it all worked out.
Maybe would have tagged along for that conversation at the end. Get Tao a bit more insight into Geyser, because that is not their most healthy relationship at the moment. Could have been fun. Could have also derailed the conversation a bit more.
Yeah, there were a couple points there. Sierra was very confused, and I was constantly thinking, I know I'm here to help Geyser theoretically, but there are so many things I could say as Smog that are cryptic and could completely throw Sierra off in another direction.
There's a couple things I kind of wanted to do salvaging. Like I wanted to get a little bit more time to learn about why they're collecting these materials, other than, oh yeah, old war shit that we need. But it didn't really pop up naturally. And there's a couple other things that I will refrain from saying. But just for my own devious purposes. But overall, I think it went very well. I would be curious to see more sessions with Poni and Tarot training. I think that would be fun to see as well. But I have no business being there, so...
That's another way that you could probably force Smog and Terra into the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, let's get into the resolution phase, the segment of the show where we each get to say something about the game with no responses. What is your final say on this session, Zach?
Tao's definitely going to bring us into DDR World next. And you might be able to find me somewhere online at Zach Defense, but maybe not with Twitter being Twitter these days.
What about you, Alex?
We didn't get around to a name last time, but maybe before we hop into another world. You can find me on Twitter at Shining Crowbat. This week, I recommend checking out Box Boy plus Box Girl. It is a puzzle platformer with some co-op stages on the Switch, made by HAL Labs, if I remember correctly, so Kirby folk. Basically, you have some boxes that you can create and form into shapes that you can toss places to platform. There are goals for only using so many boxes, so you have to be sure that you don't break them and have to make extra or just use more than you actually need. And I find that combination of genres really fun. There are, I think, like 2 or 3 earlier games on the 3DS. That shop is closing, so I don't know, learn how to hack or something. Yeah, check those out.
And for myself, this was a really fun session. There was a lot of action-packed adventures, so I just had a really great time with it. You can find me up on a ladder knocking the G off of every graveyard sign so that we can turn this place into a graveyard! That's so stupid. I'm keeping it, though.
Oh, man. You killed yourself.
I do. It's so bad.
Nice lady.
This has been Resolve, an Afterplay show. You can find us online at most social media sites at ResolveAP.
Except Instagram, which is at Resolve Afterplay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. You can buy the game we're playing, Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined, from its creator, Riley Hopkins, at linksmithgames.com.
All links will be included in the episode description.
Thank you again for listening. We end our turn here, so now it's your turn. Tell us what's happening in your game.